Tonight I thought it would be interesting to take a look at getting VMS for Alpha up and running on the es40 emulator. Es40 emulator's interesting. It's probably one of the only open source Alpha emulators that can run OpenVMS, unless someone knows about QEMU Alpha and how to get that to work for OpenVMS, which I don't think anyone has done so. I'll post a link to my uh, put a copy of es40 on GitHub. There are others there. I haven't checked them out. I made a couple tweaks to get it to compile and to fix some of the autoconf stuff, some of the macros. So nothing much there. Only spent about 20 minutes on it. So let's run through it. Let me take a look at the pull the config up on the screen. So a lot of this stuff is boilerplate. There is a utility provided with es40 that provides some configuration. You'll have to edit it afterwards. It'll give you a base configuration, and also on the wiki for the old projects that you can see some configuration to get OpenVMS up and running. Basically, you define your memory. I do like that they say how many, the memory width in bits. I like that. So that should be 256 megs. They're all the bits and pieces for the ROM. You'll actually need to go find a copy of an ES40 ROM firmware upgrade kit. Google can help you find that. The console is interfaced with via Telnet, so Telnet off to that port. Again, love that they'd use 21264 as the default for that. We have our disk controller with a few disks here. We've got one, and it'll create this for you. So we have a 4.1 gig main. Put the distribution ISO. For whatever reason, their default configuration had a RAM disk. I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know much about Alpha, the Alpha architecture, to be honest. And I put my license activation DCL script onto an ISO, so we can load that in easily. Because without the licenses, you can't get TCP up. And we have a NIC, and it can do console stuff. We're not going to do that here. I haven't really tried that. So let's go over here. And I've built this using Intel's 2015 Intel Composer XE. Pretty heavily optimized to try to get the best speed out of it. It is slow, right? So it's not the fastest thing in the world. Let me just make sure I don't have a previous run there. So it is a little slow, but it's not too bad. So we got to go and telnet off here. And I really need to look in the code, and if it's not there, put it in there. So there may be an option to fix. It prompts for your network interface to do the packet capture on. In this case, we're going to do Ethernet 4. But I think there should be a configuration option to fix that to a value. Now we're getting into, I think this is the SRM console. Again, I know very, very little about Alpha. One of the reasons I'm doing this is to refresh and get some experience with the later OpenVMS. I've been playing around for months now with version 7.3 under SimH, VAX. It's wonderful, but again, it's a little bit older and has some limitations. Whereas this, a little bit more modern, we can do some other stuff with it. The RX 1620. In one of my old videos, I showed it off as loud 1U thing. So I pulled it out of the 1U case. We're going to be faking the fan system if need be, so I'll have some quieter fans on. It'll probably just sit on a piece of plywood initially, but it'll go into some sort of bin, work out shielding later. But I managed to pick up a good price, a second CPU for it. So we'll have two 1.6 gigahertz Itaniums, OpenVMS. Maybe we'll check it out with, say, FreeBSD first. I think some of the Linuxes can run on the Itanium architecture. So I do love the consistency with DEC stuff, and going to the VAX, and here you can do show dev and you get your list of devices. We're going to boot from our installation CD, DKA400, and get the installation process started. It does take a little bit of time to run through this. I did it on my laptop before here and just fired it up enough to get to this point and make sure this is working. So this is on the AMD 8350. So trying to give it the best possible hope for as much speed as possible. So using the Intel compilers. Again, my laptop only has GCC, although it is GCC 5. What are we, 4:35 in the morning? So hopefully this will work out. I'm really excited, hopefully towards the end of the year, for AMD's Zen stuff to become available, because I would love to have a 16-core AMD CPU that they claim it is, what is it? They're going to be almost matching Intel's instruction per clock. So 16 cores, 4.5 gigahertz, Intel's instructions per clock, and AMD. I will be really excited. And hopefully they keep AMD's price point. I'd love to have my home machine be one of those big, beefy Xeons or i7s. I can't really afford it. So AMD it is. You just get there's a lot more bang for the buck if you're doing a lot of this sort of stuff. You know, running a bunch of virtual machines, because you can get 8. You're closer to 8 real cores than 4 cores with hyperthreading. It's not truly 8 cores. They still share some stuff on the AMD. Our menu is up. Like I said, it's a little slow. I don't know. Again, I have no experience with real alphas to speak of, so I don't know what the performance is actually comparable to from a real alpha. On my laptop, I was able to get like 8.5 VUPs, but it seemed like it was able to generate my keys for doing SSH a lot more quickly than SimH, which was getting 30 VUPs. So I don't know how that relates here. Again, you know, new to alpha, relatively new to VMS at this point, but it is fun to play with. So walk through this installation here. This is probably going to be part 1, split it up into 2 just because it's going to be pretty long. So part 1 will just be getting the installation, so get things on there. Part 2 will probably be configuring TCP and installing layered products, or you know, some additional software that comes with it. And let me know if you want another video. Leave a comment if you want to delve into more depth into the es40 emulator. What I'd love to see is some more community involvement to kind of bring it up to speed. Just a touch of just-in-time compilation, or pattern instruction collapsing. So you take, okay, you see this pattern of instructions consistently executed. That's a large cost of the execution time. And roll that up into something, because this is RISC. So the alpha is a RISC architecture. So there is some opportunity to roll up chains of instructions to say, okay, you're trying to do this operation. It's taking 30 instructions. Let's do it more quickly. So we're going to install the DKA0 alpha sys. So I'm going to accept the defaults for most of this stuff, but I do want ODS 5 because we're going to use this to build some modern open source software. See how that goes. I don't think I want hard links, although Unix has had hard links forever, but I don't know if I need that feature here. And set a password. I wonder if that was a mistake. Maybe that's for another day. Is a cluster of ES40 alphas. Might be interesting. Let's do DACNet 1.1. So if you're wondering, I'm up late. You know, most tech people tend to be night owls. I don't want to generalize too much. I certainly am. But importantly, here at 7 local time here, we get practice for the Austrian Grand Prix, so Formula One. Worth staying up for. So setting time zone is always dull, but has to be done. I think I'm in daylight savings. I can never remember. Don't want to register the keys now. Like I say, in part 2, when we do the keys and the setup, or maybe we'll do the licensing in this video once we get it booted up. We're going to use what's on that ISO that's attached to whatever that is, device 6. It's got the ID 6. And I do want DEC Windows and DECnet Plus. And definitely want TCP. And don't care about detailed descriptions. So, as you observe, not the speediest in the world. If I'd have to say comparable speed for what it's doing, it's an extreme apples to oranges comparison, but probably would be an old Spark 4M. Probably back in my Spark Station 10 when I had the SM51, so the 50 megahertz CPU. That would probably be how speedy this feels. But again, apples and oranges, and that with an early Solaris or SunOS is perhaps a lot more lightweight than OpenVMS 8. So this is my first time really running the more recent. So this looks like it's from 2010, VMS 8.4. So it'll be interesting to see what it is like and how it goes. And again, just accepting the defaults here. Probably should read the manual for this stuff. Might be useful, but just wing it. Also, stuff I'm going to be doing soon. I have a long weekend because of the holiday this weekend, so I'd also like to get out another video looking at not Open Solaris, Oracle Solaris 11, kind of their latest and greatest Solaris, and talk about some of the features that are common to 10 and 11 that make them really great choices for mission critical stuff. They have some features that make them really attractive, and it's kind of sad that they're being kind of left behind as Linux moves on. But thankfully, Solaris will run on x64 and x86 stuff, so it's not going to be trailing too much. And even in Spark is still a very useful platform for a lot of things. They have the very massively parallel Spark, so things like 128 core, they're 128 thread Spark processors. So maybe talk a little bit about that. So this is going to install for a little bit. I'm going to go have a snack, and I'm going to pause here, and we will check back. So this is the ideal time to grab a cup of coffee, and I will be back in a few minutes. So after some time, that wasn't all the time, I also had some food and relaxed a little bit. But now we're back. This is complete, or the installation is complete. Here's what's been installed, telling us how we can configure TCP and Cerberus if we wanted it, but I don't think we do. So we will we'll continue. Basically, we're going to want to reboot and a couple times to get the licenses installed. Then the next video we will do some setup and installing some software. So again, not the speediest thing in the world, but certainly workable. And maybe I can do a performance comparison between the MUVM or Alpha MUVM, whatever commercial product. They say they're gonna have another free, free to use, non-commercial emulator coming back soon. They've taken down their last version, and the last version, had rough ballpark similar performance. Let's go DKA0, and so now on our installation drive here, or our installed drive, it's now able to boot. And again with the time. It's now 6 in the morning here in the Dallas area. So hopefully this won't take anywhere near as long to get up and running. So it's got to do its auto gen and do some, first boot configuration, and we can see what things are like. The one thing I will have to give VMS a lot of credit. I love the login auditing. The log messages here are handy. Um, if I'd grown up with this instead of things like syslog, they'd be even more useful. But you see, we don't have a license, so once this does its thing, we will reboot, install some licenses. Now, the set of packs they provided for um, for the alpha has some reasonably interesting things on it. Um, let me switch over here, so I have top running to see just how, highlight that it is threaded. It does use Poco, I believe, for its helper library. I don't know. I shouldn't be talking out of turn when I'm not exactly sure. It's been a long day. So we get basic. I don't know what browser is. COBOL, C++, C, DECset. That'll be handy. That's some of their build tool. Get an update here. I have no idea how to put that in. But Fortran and Pascal. So some useful stuff. So we'll be putting probably put everything on except for Pascal and COBOL. And I don't know what browser is. But so we'll probably mount this over via NFS to copy things over, and I'll probably put another drive on here. I don't know how much we've taken up out of the 4 gig here. Presumably we have enough free space there, but I'll put probably another 4 gig image on for kind of some temp space and user directories and things. So AutoGen's doing its thing, and after that we'll put the licenses on. So it's interesting to see some of the timing here is certainly running decently quickly, but other things do run more slowly, and that's why I am thinking a little bit of profiling and some uh, in, multi-instruction optimization, and also maybe optimizing the I/O system. So maybe having to do waits for communication either to the console, the network, or the disk. It's really the only I/O that's attached. Um, and looking at it, it looked like it did have a interrupt countdown. Again, I have spent a whopping, 5 minutes with the code, um, just to look for a general approach of how they did it, or how the emulator functioned. So others may have better insight uh, than I do. But certainly I'd be very interested to kind of resurrect this project. I think it could be very, very useful. Because right now there really isn't an open source emulator. Obviously QEMU does do an alpha system, but I think it does kind of something designed to run Linux only. So you can run Linux on QEMU alpha, but that's not very handy. And it is fun to throw one of the free OSs, Linux or BSD, on some of this antiquated hardware. But again, if you're going to do, say, I don't know, lack of something better, let's say one of the old Red Hat for Spark, right? Fun to play with. It's nostalgic for me. Throw it on the Spark 10, for instance. But you have a Spark 10. You really should be running, SunOS or Solaris, because you don't get that differentiation, and you might as well run old Red Hat and VMware. And I'm using VMware as a generic term. I prefer VirtualBox or QEMU KVM. Okay, well, it looks like it's worked out UTC correctly, which I do like. And I bet this is going to be another one of these long videos. The next one will probably be even longer because there won't be that big segment in the middle where I can just go have a cup of coffee and a vape. So the next one will be long. So yeah, I guess next one we'll do setting up networking and uh, getting some of the compilers and stuff put on. And I guess maybe we'll do a third one to see if we can build some open source software here. And maybe do some performance comparison tests to see NFS versus local disk. So, not necessarily the fastest thing. I keep repeating that, but it is the most notable attribute here. But we can get in now. Okay. So our the license command file is there. Okay, so we got our license script. I'm going to call it a script. I don't know. I'm trying to use the correct vocabulary for VMS, but we'll disregard that. Got a copy of that. Take a look. So it obviously does not understand the format here. So this is Unixy format, so new lines. So break out of there. We're going to have to set the file type. see what its record format is. So not defined. So we're going to set the record format here so that it will work. So there we've got the line feed stream. Now that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to run this. I am going to shut off the video for a second because the license keys will show as output here, and I'm not quite yet smart enough to redirect this stuff to dev null. So I will run this, and I will turn the video back on in just a second. I did realize a little belatedly that there's probably actually no personal information shown as output of that that script. So I do apologize you didn't get just some output running by as we run it. Kind of the last thing to do in this segment is take a look at decompressing the libraries. So we've got a lot of free blocks. So what is that? 3 gigs free? So we got plenty of free space to do the library decompression. So hopefully that'll be a little bit faster. It'll be less bound to CPU. So run a little bit of DCL here to see what we have here. So the help lib's pretty big. Not too much others. So we do have plenty of space to expand the libraries, and we will do that here. So hopefully this will improve performance a little bit, so it won't have to decompress these libraries. Sorry if like I'm trailing off in the second half of the video after that break. It's late. I'm staying up to watch some Formula One practice this morning here in about 45 minutes. But I've not had enough coffee for this late at night, so all-nighter, and the brain is turning to mush. So if it seems a little rambly towards the end here, we'll just decompress those. And while that works, I don't know if anyone watches Game of Thrones. I find it to probably be the best fantasy adaptation on television. I haven't read much of the books. Partway through the first one, but it's certainly a better adaptation to video medium of a fantasy book than the Jackson, Lord of the Rings, and especially in some ways The Hobbit. Although the first one of the Hobbit trilogy done on film actually kind of captured the mood, but they did not. So we'll select all here. They did not really capture the mood for Lord of the Rings too well. And I know all people, Game of Thrones, they're complaining about all the changes from the book. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, they left out the ending. The ending isn't there. It's amazing. So it is tough. But season 6 of Game of Thrones just finished, so that was one of the things I was doing on the weekend. So hopefully I'll have a little bit more time to be making these kind of screencast videos. Hopefully that will yield a bit more. As I said, when Slackware 14.2 comes out, definitely going to cover that in more depth. There have been some changes in the kernel side, so what's up to 4.4. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Look at at Oracle Solaris 11. It pains me to say Oracle Solaris. Um, Triblix had another milestone, another great OS. Obviously, we got VMS here, Alpha Emulator. We got the RX 1620. Um, Other stuff, doing something with Raspberry Pis and storage. So some storage clustering. Um, so again, but if you have any other thoughts or ideas, please leave a comment. And because I could use all the help for ideas as possible. Because lately it seems like my actual job is eating up a lot of my time. Also, a piece of software I use called Nime, which is a data workflow tool. So graphical programming, I know, I used to look down my nose at graphical programming, but if you're trying to explore some data, specifically business data, I find it very valuable. Also leave a comment if you'd like to see something on that. I really don't find programming tutorials and screencasts to be terribly interesting. Maybe because that doing it yourself is a little bit more fun. Although, yeah, I don't know. But maybe graphical programming might be interesting. So do let me know. Also, Fortran, maybe a quick 15-minute Fortran tutorial, because I think it needs more love. So again, do let me know. Leave a comment. And hopefully we'll be wrapping up here with phase 1 of this VMS installation here. Also, any interest in doing a cluster of these emulated alphas, also let me know that. Leave a comment if you'd like to see clustering in VMS. It's something I've never attempted, so I don't necessarily know the utility of it if they're all running on the same, they're grouped here, but it might be something interesting to play with. Let's see what else. What are some of the other ideas? I actually have my notebook handy. I can see what some of the other things we were planning to look at here. Let's see, maybe a little bit of some history on the Unix wars, period of time I find very interesting. Also, as I said earlier, if I can get some media, maybe do True 64 Unix under emulation. So that was Digital's late 90s Unix. So maybe look at True 64. Building some open source or porting some modern open source software over here to OpenVMS. There's also the R language, which I certainly like. I'm giving you a lot of ums tonight because I am trying to fill a little bit of time here. But this should be wrapped up in just a second. I think the next video will be a little bit more interesting because we'll get TCP running, we'll be mounting things over NFS, installing some software, testing compilers. So that should be a bit more interesting. That's another one we could do. Net install of IRIX on the O2. Getting that set up, that would be that's a bunch of stuff. So we could use the some of the Sun machines to provide a net install host for the O2. Do a network install, a headless network install over the serial port. Oh, and one of the yes, I know. What some other future stuff here is. I'm just listing what's going on while I'm brain dead tonight. And Jeff Poole mentioned in a comment, so I do read the comments. I am sorry if I don't necessarily reply to them. Uh, Oftentimes I don't really know necessarily what to say, but we'll be looking at a couple things. Um, Getting GCC up on an old platform. So, for instance, SunOS 4.1.4, multi-stage, right? So you're kind of bootstrapping GCC, and also look at NIS. So, formerly Yellow Pages from Sun, uh, which I think is a great technology for kind of you have your home lab, you have a few Unix machines you want to synchronize usernames, for example, between them, but you don't necessarily want to be doing something heavyweight like LDAP. The NIS is a great alternative, so probably doing a video on that as well. And again, please leave a comment. Let me know what else is interesting. Scroll up and see how much we have left here. Yeah, we're getting close to the end here. Starlet Pass. I have no idea what Starlet Pass is. Yeah, Starlet. So hopefully this should be nearing the end a little bit. Just pull top back up. So HTOP is one of my favorite system management utilities. Regular top works great most of the time. HTOP, because you do get the hierarchical breakout, is nice. Uh, I also do like some of the bar graphs here. Now you can get some bar graphing on regular top. Sounds weird to say that, regular top. So HTOP, there's also IO top. Some interesting things. There's all the stuff in the systat package. I don't know. I like to use SAR on some machines, and I know that's kind of falling out of favor in many circles. Maybe it's a little old school, but getting your historical data out of SAR is pretty easy. So I'm a pretty big fan of SAR, uh, but it is not quite as common to be used anymore. Now I'm going to pause this here, and we will pick back up in just a minute or two when this completes. Sorry for the delay there. I guess it's instantaneous to you, although I've been busy doing other stuff for about 20 minutes. Um, the library decomposition, or decompressing, again, I'm way too tired to be doing this. Decompressing the system libraries is complete. So we will shut down and put a close to this video and pick it back up hopefully tomorrow with the setup of TCP and installing the compilers. There we go. We're back to the boot console. Thanks for putting up with a little bit of ramble and nonsensical speech from me towards the end, and hope you watch the next video.